Something huge is brewing as there has been a major Eagles trade update as the Philadelphia Eagles have been linked to multiple pass rushers ahead of Tuesday's trade deadline, with many Eagles fans ready for a difference maker. We'll break all of this down on another edition of Eagles Digest. What's going on, guys? Alex Brooks back here on Eagles Digest to give you guys everything surrounding the Philadelphia Eagles. The Eagles are getting ready for the trade deadline, and we have everything surrounding the Eagles trade rumors, any sort of updates that we have, and we have a major update to share with you in just a little bit. But before we get into this video, we are currently at 712 subscribers. We appreciate all the support you guys are giving us, especially on the last vid about Myles Garrett going to the Philadelphia Eagles possibly, and that was a great video that got a lot of attention, and we really appreciate all the support we got from there. So if you guys are not subscribed to this channel, you want to see more content like that, you guys better hit that subscribe button. Comment down below. Let me know your thoughts on the Philadelphia Eagles and everything surrounding this trade deadline. But getting right into this video, as we are talking about Howie Roseman and this Eagles trade deadline, we received a major update from Deanna Rossini from Twitter saying about the Eagles trade kind of philosophy that they're thinking of. And I just want to share this with you guys, as the Eagles have inquired about multiple edge rushers, including Dolphins, Jaelan Phillips, Jets defensive end Jermaine Johnson, and Bengals defensive end Trey Hendrickson. And this is definitely something where when you think of Howie Roseman, he's going to be wheeling and dealing throughout this deadline. He is going to be checking in on everyone. He's going to be checking in on the guys like Jaelan Phillips and Jermaine Johnson, who are more realistic targets. And then he's going to obviously check on the Trey Hendricksons and the Myles Garretts, the real difference makers who can transform a defense. Not saying that Jaelan Phillips and Jermaine Johnson can't have an instant big impact, but when you're looking at those top names with Myles Garrett and Trey Hendrickson, that is what Eagles fans are really going to flock to. And I'll talk about a little bit more why you should be excited for both Jaelan Phillips and Jermaine Johnson, as well as Hendrickson and Myles Garrett. We'll start off with Jaelan Phillips. Jaelan Phillips is an interesting player for the Philadelphia Eagles. He's been dealing with injuries throughout his whole career. He's been, just kind of back and forth. 2024, he had an injury-riddled season where he only played 2 games, but this year he is getting back to normal, and he has been doing well as of late. He got a sack on Lamar Jackson on Thursday Night Football, and something to note is that back in 2023, he was in the Vic Fangio scheme when Vic Fangio was the defensive coordinator for the Miami Dolphins, and he had a great year. 6.5 sacks in Vic Fangio's 2023 season. He's a young pass rusher, has amazing upside, and the Dolphins just got a new GM. They just fired their old GM. So really everyone is on the table, and that is what the Eagles are going to be looking at to try to acquire Jaelan Phillips to get him on this team and fit in with this Vic Fangio scheme that he had so much success with. And I mean, I definitely think that this is a guy that the Eagles should go after, and I think he would make a big impact on this Eagles team, getting in a room with Nolan Smith and Jalen Hunt, putting the pressure off of Graham, Nolan Smith, and Jalen Hunt, as well as Joshua Uche, just to get another guy in here, just to get another body that can help this Eagles defensive line really feast. And I think it's definitely something that is a very probable trade target when it's going to the trade deadline, because he just has a lot of different things that he can provide to the table. Looking at his PFF profile, he is 66.5 overall defensive ranking, but when you're looking at the pressures, the way he gets to the quarterback, he ranks 11th among all defensive ends in the NFL. That is pretty good for a guy who's on a team like the Miami Dolphins, who are not going anywhere, and that has a lot of turmoil. So getting a guy like Jaelan Phillips going over from the Miami Dolphins to the Philadelphia Eagles, a championship team, a team that wants to prove why they are the beasts of the NFL, Jaelan Phillips is definitely fitting into that category. Definitely would love him to be in the Philadelphia Eagles midnight green, just to see him with Joshua Uche, how he fits with Nolan Smith and Jalen Hunt. He is at the top 3 of my big board for the Eagles trade deadline targets. But when we move over to another guy, well, before actually we move over there, I'm just kidding there. When we're looking at Jaelan Phillips' stats so far this season, he has 3 sacks on the season, but when you're looking at it, he was able to get a sack against the Browns, the Ravens, and he was able to get a sack on the Panthers. So he's been able to, get a lot of pressures, get a lot of tackles, but he has been, just kind of doing a little bit of up and down throughout the season. So it may not be just, the scheme. Maybe he's just in a scheme that doesn't really have him in the best positions, but definitely when he is going to, if he goes to the Eagles, he is going to get the most attention and get the most out of that Vic Fangio scheme that he had so much success with. So definitely think Jaelan Phillips is a realistic trade target for this Philadelphia Eagles, and I would not mind if he is going to be in midnight green. But moving over to Jermaine Johnson, we've talked about this. If you guys have been a subscriber for a little bit, we have talked about Jermaine Johnson on this channel and how he can provide a lot of upside for this Philadelphia Eagles team. Jermaine Johnson is with the New York Jets that the Eagles already traded with. They traded with the Jets to get Michael Carter II. So this would go back to the well of the New York Jets to get another guy on the defensive end. And Jermaine Johnson, I mean, he's really good. He's a good young pass rusher who, as I've said before, he's had injuries as well as Jaelan Phillips. So a lot of these guys are, they've kind of working out the potential of what they can be because you've seen how, they've dipped in production because of injury. And, just looking at, his PFF profile, not as, well versed as guys like Trey Hendrickson, Jaelan Phillips, or even Myles Garrett in that conversation. But Jermaine Johnson is definitely going to be a guy, he has all the tangibles to be one of the top pass rushers in the NFL. I mean, he's 6'5", 262 pounds. And the thing is that he is not in the right scheme. He's with Jeff Ulbrich, who doesn't get the most out of their defensive end. So the Vic Fangio scheme, I know I keep saying that the Vic Fangio scheme is, something that really transcends players. We see in Joshua Uche, he wasn't in the right scheme in Kansas City, goes over to the Philadelphia Eagles and is having a career year. That could be the same with any of these edge rushers that go to the Philadelphia Eagles because Vic Fangio, he only sends 4 on the pressures and they all are able to get to the quarterback in a consistent way. So Jermaine Johnson, definitely a guy that I would like to see for the Philadelphia Eagles. I would love to see any of these guys be in midnight green because I think it's just having that depth and having a big name on the edge just to, distract from the guys like Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis and Moro Ujoma in the inside, giving them less pressure to perform when they're getting double teamed, especially Jalen Carter, who is the star of the Eagles defense. And, when we look at the stats for Jermaine Johnson on the season, only 1 sack on the season. He's been, dealing with an injury early in the season, just kind of getting back from that injury. But it's definitely hard to be on a team that doesn't do well on offense. They don't do well with, Justin Fields, Breece Hall. They're not really doing as well in on offense or at all for anything. So going over from the New York Jets to the Philadelphia Eagles, now you would be able to pair with your teammate Michael Carter II. That would just be huge for camaraderie sake. It would be good to just welcome in another guy from a team that wasn't doing well, and now you're at a team where you're expected to perform at the highest level. So Jermaine Johnson, definitely would love to have him in midnight green as well. And a little bit more on Johnson and Jaelan Phillips. This was from Owen at Heavy Sports, saying Phillips and Johnson are appealing trade targets for similar reasons. Both guys are former first-round picks who have battled injuries throughout their careers, but when they are healthy and on the field, they both have been wildly productive. Add in the fact that the Dolphins and Jets are among the worst teams in the league, and an attractive trade offer could convince them to move off of these guys. And I definitely think that is true as well. I mean, you're looking at what you could pay for these guys. I'm guessing it would probably be a 3rd, 4th round pick that you would send over to get one of these guys like Jaelan Phillips and Jermaine Johnson. It's not going to be the big name like Myles Garrett and or Trey Hendrickson. You would have to give up a little bit more if you're going to get one of those guys, but these guys are definitely able to get into a scheme and really produce and have the potential to be one of the best defensive ends in all of football. But going over to the other guy in this trade deadline, chaos, if you will, is Trey Hendrickson. I mean, I've said it before, I've said it again. He is the meal ticket of this trade deadline. Everybody is going after Trey Hendrickson. I've heard things from the 49ers, the Detroit Lions, the Los Angeles Rams, and the Philadelphia Eagles. They're all looking at Trey Hendrickson. They're all looking to add this stud on the defensive line. The only thing I'll say right now about Trey Hendrickson that scares me is his injury. He's been, out for a couple games. He's been in for one, out for two. It's just been kind of all over the board for Trey Hendrickson health-wise. So if the health is the problem right now, don't really want to give up, major capital for a guy who is only, he is not going to play the full time. And being in a contract year, you don't want to have someone who's just not going to be on the field. And I think that's something where the Eagles have to look at that and be like, okay, what is, like, they got to do their homework on this guy and see where he's at injury wise. If it's just just needs a little bit of rest, okay. But if it's something that's elongated throughout the whole season, then I would stay away from Trey Hendrickson. He does have the abilities. We know that he does. I mean, you're looking at what he's been able to do in Cincinnati over his career, 82.9 grade. He has been one of the most consistent defensive ends in all of football. He's 30 years old. He's in a contract year. So the Eagles are probably not going to pay him past this year. They're going to take on that contract for this year, and then that's pretty much it. So you're getting him for the Super Bowl run. And when you're looking at that, he is doubtful to play the next game against the Chicago Bears. So that's something where you got to see what he is looking like health-wise. But I definitely think that all of these guys have the ability to really do well for this Philadelphia Eagles defense. And I wanted to throw this out to you before I send it over, saying who would have the biggest impact for the Eagles defense? Hendrickson, Johnson, or Phillips? I want to get your thoughts down below on who you think is going to have the biggest impact for the Philadelphia Eagles. Jaelan Phillips, he has the success in the Vic Fangio scheme. Jermaine Johnson, he would have the camaraderie with Michael Carter II and have some familiarity with this defense. And then Trey Hendrickson, obviously the meal ticket, who can have, when healthy, is one of the best defensive ends in all of football. But that's going to do it for another edition of Eagles Digest. Appreciate all the support you guys are giving us on this channel. Make sure you subscribe, hit the bell so you're notified of all of these videos. Hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Let's go Birds and fly, Eagles, fly.